Hi, I'm Wayne Tuttle, and this is Chasing Legends. Welcome back to Chasing Legends. I'm Wayne Tuttle, your host once again, and definitely most welcome to the end of the year Chasing Legends. So I guess in kind of moving forward, the next time you see me after this, we will be in the next season of Chasing Legends. I don't know. I don't think we break this into seasons. It's one continuously never-ending, lengthy season. So after a number of years, we continue to deliver, and we will be so. Please pick up a copy of Sunsets. Also, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Go to our website at www.legendssuperstitionmountains.com. Pick up whatever you can there. We should have some new content you'll see, because if you hit that notification bell, you'll see that other things are going to be popping up during the week. Some shorts and other stuff. So hope you enjoy the content, something we're going to try to do better. Also, moving forward, we're becoming more in the modern technical age. We're working more wireless. So where we used to just talk to the camera microphone and then we went to the recording our separate digital audio, now we're wireless. And you hear me clear as a bell. So just imagine that. This week, for the end of the year, we're going to do a nice story. This is about a gentleman named William Henry Handy Plummer. He is originally from Maine. He grew up there. At the age of 20 in 1862. He decides to head for the West Coast, the gold fields of California and so forth. He's running a little late behind the 49ers. But he heads that way to find and seek his fortune. He ends up in California. He's not having a lot of luck. He ends up in Nevada City. He ends up doing well enough to purchase some land, get some holdings, has a semi-successful mine, and opens up a store. The store does quite well. He is considered somewhat respectable and all. And he's elected or put in the appointed position of the town marshal. And looks like things are going pretty well for him. And one day there's a gentleman, his name is, I'm going to have to go to my notes, John Vetter. And he and John Vetter, Vetter has broken the law. He goes to arrest Vetter. Things go a little sideways, and he ends up killing Vetter in a gunfight. This goes to court. Obviously, to make sure that everything is being dealt with properly and by the law. And they find Plummer guilty of murder. They do not believe it was in self-defense or rightfully done so. He's actually sentenced to 10 years in San Quentin. So much for being above the law. So Plummer's sentenced, but after a year, because he's very well liked, he's respected, good behavior, he's considered a really good guy, they decide we're going to release him. They kind of have a little bit of a change of heart. Also, it's mentioned in his release papers that he has tuberculosis and he may not live much longer than the next couple of years. So he's released into the general population, trying to find his way again. And then he makes a citizen's arrest on a man named William Riley. This goes south again, and he kills Riley in a gunfight again. It's found self-defense, but now Plummer's thinking, because I was released early and all this, somebody might have a change of heart. There might be someone who has something against me, and they're going to want to put me back in San Quentin. So he decides, while he can, he's going to just leave the state and be done with this. So he travels up through Oregon. He travels up into Washington, and while in Washington, of course, everything goes so well for him that there's a gentleman that he ends up killing in a gunfight in Washington. Now this again, it happens in a saloon. Everyone says it's self-defense. He's acquitted. But he's done with this. He says, you know what? This is not me, this violence. I've killed 3 men already. I'm going to head back to Maine. So he picks up with a wagon train with a gentleman named James Vale. It's going east. He needs a couple guys for to fight off Indians and so forth. And there's another gentleman known as Jack Cleveland. And while they go to do this, there's a young lady named Ledna, and a very strange name, but that's Vale's sister-in-law. And both Cleveland and Plummer kind of have an eye for her, but she's won over by Plummer. And he decides to marry her, and this seems to transpire quite quickly because they end up deciding to settle in Bannack, Montana. Now, so however long it gets them, Bannack, there's a bit of a gold rush, there's a lot going on. Plummer says he thinks he can do right by her and kind of find themselves a nice life there. Well, Cleveland doesn't want to give up on her even though she's married to Plummer, and ends up in an argument, and then everything escalates in a saloon again, and Plummer has to draw, and he kills Cleveland now. Again, everybody in town says it was self-defense. It just happens to be Plummer's a very quick gun, and he kills Cleveland. He's acquitted. It's considered self-defense. And so much so at this point, his reputation as being something of a very courteous, very conscientious, very nice guy. He's got a very quick gun. They elect him sheriff. So now he's the local sheriff, the magistrate, but something appears to go wrong with Plummer at this time. Now, Bannack in that area, in Virginia City and all, everything is going very well, the gold rush, but there's a lot of robberies, like highwaymen just robbing people left and right. And this gets worse and worse and worse, where there's murders along the road. And the sheriff doesn't seem to be doing much about it. It's kind of going fine for the robbers till a young man named Tilden is accosted on the road, and he doesn't have anything. And the 3 robbers that pull him over kind of decide to have mercy on him and decide, we're not going to mess with you. Just don't tell anybody, who we are if you figured it out and all this stuff. Well, Tilden's not bright, so he gets back to town and he starts telling everybody, pretty sure Sheriff Plummer was one of the 3 guys that waylaid us. Well, it turns out Plummer, as the sheriff, had been hiring hooligans, ruffians, different types of people, and organizing his own crime ring as sheriff. They had a handkerchief, a sailor's knot in their handkerchiefs to identify each other. They had a password, which you would whisper to the other guys, I am innocent. And seems kind of corny if you ask me, but they seem to do quite well. There's 20 to 50 of these guys working general different areas, and the miners and the banker, everybody all over the area is becoming really concerned with what's happening. Well, there's a man named Ives, and he's murdered, and this becomes the tip of the head of it. Over a year and a half, everybody's done with this. And in 1863, there's a vigilance committee formed. The miners all get together and they elect a vigilance committee, and this committee becomes known as, if you read about the stories and anything else, they're known as the Vigilantes. And they go out, and almost immediately they find 20 to 25 of these robbers, and they basically hang them when they find them. There's no trial by jury or anything. Once they feel like they got the right guy, they just string them up in a tree. It's judge, jury, executioner, and the moment they decide to accuse them. They're going through, and then they finally get a couple guys that start telling them, trying to look for mercy. So they're saying, hey, I'll tell you the names of the other guys. Of which, when they do, they're still put up and hung in the tree. Or hanged. Now, that's always questionable, is because hanged and hung, people say, well, they hanged a man, but they hung a man. Past tense is hung, but hanged is in the present tense, except in hanging it stays hanged instead of hung. I feel like either or works perfectly fine and people know what you're suggesting. So finally, this vigilante group comes across Plummer and a couple of the last guys. And basically what they've gotten to towards the end of all this is they've decided if they get the head of the snake, and can cut the head of the snake off, they'll just basically tell a couple of the other guys that are accused that, you know what, if you tell everybody else and the rest of you get out of Dodge, that'll be it. We'll leave the rest of you alone. This needs to end, and the rest of you need to just poof, disappear like smoke in the wind. This appears to be what happens at that time. They get Plummer. He starts telling a man named Owsley, Bill Owsley, hey, I can tell you where we buried $300,000 in loot. Here's the treasure story. There's a corral by Robber's Roost, the cabin by Robber's Roost. Out by the corral, about 100 yards from one of the corners of the corral, we have $300,000 in gold buried. Now, it's estimated that about $2.5 million in gold was robbed by these guys. So these guys did plenty and did very, very well. So it is very logical to say he pleaded, he cried, he moaned, he begged for his life. So in 1864, Plummer is hanged till he's dead. No trial, no jury, just basically, we believe it's him. Some other people have pointed the finger at him. He begs for his life. The $300,000 is never located. Owsley admits he and other people dug everywhere around that corral. They don't know which corner it was from. He believed Plummer was telling the truth. Plummer didn't live an extravagant lifestyle, so he said he believed most of the loot, most of the gold was still buried or located in the area. In fact, very little, if any of it, was ever recovered. Now, an interesting point to this is in 1993 in Montana, they decided to have a retrial, or a trial, because they never had a trial. And the jury was hung on all the evidence and everything taken into account. 6-6. So in a jury trial, Plummer probably would have been found innocent, or it would have been hung jury, and he would have been acquitted and been a free man, and none of this would have occurred. So it was what got him was the vigilante justice. Now, if you ever play Call of Juarez, the game, the video game, he's actually in that. So Henry Plummer is one of the characters in that game. So it's kind of funny that he's actually made the American video game status, even though he's not well known. Montana's a huge state. That Robber's Roost site, it would be interesting, and I could find no update. The interest of the story is, while it's quite a long story, this man's narrative, it's interesting looking at the two sides of it. He's considered a pretty average guy, dark-haired. They said he had very cold, dead eyes, but he was very courteous, very polite, and very hospitable. They said he really didn't curse or anything. He didn't care for that. He was not a drinking man. It's normal he would have a drink with you, but he was not a drunkard. They say he was only 5'8", 150 pounds, not a big man, but he was very quick with a gun. But they pointed out he'd wear his hat very low and keep his eyes shadowed, and it was kind of that Jekyll and Hyde kind of effect, and I was very surprised at hearing he was even touted as possibly being a state representative in California, and then in Nevada being a state senator. So he had something about him that people really respected and liked, and even in 1993 people kind of looked at it as like, possibly not. I think he probably was the head of that crime ring, because it seems awful odd that he wasn't, in 40, 50 ruffians were saying no. It's in fact stated that his deputies would infiltrate groups with other criminals, and then said that he would deputize criminals to go help him to go rob people. And then the threat was, if you say you saw me, Deputy Smith, rob you, we will kill you. And some of the murders they believe in the area were because of people that had seen them and could recognize them. So they had a good year and a half stretch there. So there you go. There's the story of Henry Plummer, kind of an old Wild West, and we got one in from Montana. So there you go. Don't often get that. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for continuing to watch us. Look for the notifications for other content, and we'll catch you coming around the next time. Welcome to the new year, and always remember, still the same this year in 2025. Yeah, we're here 2025. Same as 2024. I'm Wayne Tuttle. You're not, and this was Chasing Legends.